Today, Sergio Aragones, the artist behind Spy vs. Spy. Hi, I'm Darren. These are my hands, and you can stop yelling at me right now. Please continue leaving your comments below, though. This is GrooTube, where we appreciate the art of Sergio Aragones. And of course, I know that Sergio is not the cartoonist who drew Spy vs. Spy, except for when he did draw Spy vs. Spy. Of course, Antonio Prohias was the creator of Spy vs. Spy. And before we talk about Sergio's cartooning connections to Spy vs. Spy, we should talk about Senor Prohias. And what I've got in front of me here today is Mad Presents Spy vs. Spy, an explosive celebration. This is the nice big hardbound book that came out in 2015 that collected 150 classic Spy vs. Spy comics and colored them. So that was kind of interesting. This is a book that I bought for my son and that he's letting me use today. Please send any cheap shots, nasty complaints, or thinly veiled threats to Time Incorporated Books. And what we have here in this Spy vs. Spy collection is Sergio Aragones' wonderful, heartfelt biography written for his good friend Antonio Prohias. Sergio begins by praising Senor Prohias as an extraordinary artist and an exceptional human. He talks about his childhood growing up in Cuba, showing his talent for art at a very young age, and explaining how his father was a practical man and didn't want Antonio to go into art. Sergio tells Antonio's story how he took all sorts of jobs so that he could buy art supplies and continue practicing his craft, and how eventually he became recognized at age 25 as one of the, if not the most accomplished cartoonists in Cuba. Men, that is Prohias, the best cartoonist in Cuba. Sergio even tells about how, as a young man, it looks like Sergio is picking up a copy of Bohemia magazine so that he can enjoy El Hombre Siniestro by Prohias. Antonio's cartoons were harshly satirical and got him in trouble with the government. So much so that, fearing for his life, he escaped Cuba and eventually made his way to New York City. Working various jobs, he continued developing his Spy vs. Spy cartoon and was eventually able to sell it to Mad magazine. Sergio continues by telling how he first met Antonio at the Mad offices and how he developed a friendship with him that lasted a lifetime. Sergio concludes by telling all sorts of wonderful stories of Antonio's kindness and generosity, how he always was giving of his material possessions, but also of his art. A wonderful tribute from El Maestro to his friend, and how appropriate that it's in cartoon form. Using his own words and art, Antonio Prohias once told his own story in the pages of Cartoonist Profiles, how he loved art as a child and the many different jobs that he took to support his dream of becoming a cartoonist. He shows how his life was in danger in Cuba and the jobs that he had to take in the United States while continuing to work on his Spy vs. Spy cartoons before eventually finding his outlet and fame through Mad magazine. One of the cartoons that got Antonio in trouble in Cuba was a strip titled El Hombre Siniestro. Many people see El Hombre Siniestro as a prototype for the spies. We can see the pointed nose, the wide-brimmed hat, the overcoat and boots. And some of the El Hombre Siniestro comics that he drew, he was able to transfer directly into Spy vs. Spy cartoons later on. Take a look at this one in particular, where the sinister man spies a lightning rod on top of a building, takes it down, packages it up as a gift for an enemy, and the lightning rod does its job, attracting a lightning bolt straight to his foe. The same gag is used in this Spy vs. Spy comic, where the white spy takes down that lightning rod, wraps it up as a gift for the black spy, who gets zapped by lightning in the end. Antonio describes the sinister man, El Hombre Siniestro, as a dark and dastardly character who wouldn't think anything of chopping the tails off of dogs or even the legs off of little girls. The character was born out of the national psychosis of the Cuban people, a sadistic character who enjoys playing cruel tricks. Now, Spy vs. Spy itself needs no introduction to fans of Sergio Aragones. I doubt there are any Sergio fans who aren't also fans of Antonio Prohias' work, or at least familiar with Spy vs. Spy. So, what about Sergio's connections? Sergio makes the joke time after time that he is mistaken for the creator of Spy vs. Spy. He's a cartoonist for Mad Magazine with a Spanish name. I guess it could happen. Here in Groo vs. Conan, issue number 3, we read this exchange. Wait, I recognize this man. This is Sergio Aragones from Mad Magazine. The guy who draws Spy vs. Spy? Oh, I love that. Can't stand those stupid little cartoons in the margins, but I love Spy vs. Spy. And Mark helps out. Yes, he does Spy vs. Spy. And also in the Groo Meets Tarzan series, several incidences of mistaken identity. When Mark explains that he has to save the life of his friend Sergio, a cartoonist who overhears that Sergio may be in peril calls Mad Magazine. I'd like to speak to an editor. I'm a cartoonist. I hear you may be in need of a new artist to draw those little marginal cartoons and Spy vs. Spy. And from issue number 1, an audience member asks Sergio, "Are you going to do any more Spy vs. Spy for Mad? We all love that strip." Sergio cries, "I not draw Spy vs. Spy. I never draw Spy vs. Spy. That created by Antonio Prohias, not me. When you people learn that? When?" Later on, Sergio says, "Next time someone think I do Spy vs. Spy, they be sorry. Real sorry." So I claim that Sergio did draw Spy vs. Spy. Let me give you a few examples. Take a look at this 1982 Spring Mad Super Special on sports. Who do we see way down in the right-hand corner? Why, that's the Black Spy, of course, drawn by Sergio Aragones. And let's take a mad look at Marginals, 500 of Sergio's favorites for Mad's 500th issue. Well, who do we have right up here? It's the Black Spy poking out somebody's eye as they walk around the corner and walk into his pointy nose. Let me bring out Groo Meets Tarzan number 1 again. When this pretty young lady asks Sergio to draw him a teensy little sketch. "Oh, you're one of my favorite cartoonists, Sergio Aragones," she says. Sergio asks what kind of sketch she would like. "Your most famous creations, of course, Spy vs. Spy." And of course, Sergio is happy to oblige. Check out those Spy vs. Spy drawings by Sergio Aragones. Check out the Chacal cosplayer. And finally, what you've probably all been waiting for, a real Sergio Aragones Spy vs. Spy comic. Drawn in 2020 for Sergio's Mad Travels, this is a brand new comic. The White Spy unloads on the Black Spy in the first panel, but is surprised to see the Black Spy walking down the street moments later. Take that with a bazooka! But the Black Spy is across the street again and launches a grenade at the White Spy. What's that? The White Spy continues to walk down the street? We'll drop a safe on him and blow him up with some dynamite. But here comes another White Spy in a tank crushing the Black Spy. And they're surprised to see each other both alive again when they meet at the corner. And then they find out it's really a comic convention, and we have at least 30 of Antonio's spies drawn by Sergio Aragones. It's neat to see Sergio's take on Antonio's classic spies. When I look at it, I see Sergio's looser drawing style, not quite as precise as Antonio would draw. You see little bits of shading, windows out of the side of buildings. Sergio's exasperation marks, sweat flying off of the brow of the spy, lots of clouds of dust and hatch marks in the explosions. Sergio draws the spies in his own style, yet remaining true to the classic design of Antonio Prohias. Well, friends, I hope you enjoyed that quick look at Sergio Aragones' connections with Antonio Prohias' Spy vs. Spy. It really was a treat last year to read Sergio's own Spy vs. Spy comic in the pages of Sergio's Mad Travels. And knowing of the friendship between the two men and the generosity of Senor Prohias, just a wonderful story. If you enjoyed our look at Spy vs. Spy as done by Sergio today, please consider giving this video a like, leaving a comment below, and making sure that you're subscribed and that you have notifications turned on, because I will be back again very soon with another GrooTube. Classic.